Are you kidding me?
Can I kick it?
Step back and kiss myself.
Can I kick it? Can I kick it? Can I kick it? Can I kick it? Can I kick it?
Welcome to the basketball show. I'm Logan Mantz alongside Matt Dick, and we're getting into conference play. Just finished up first and second round of the NBA playoffs. I thought it was a lot better playoffs than last year.
Definitely.
I mean, last year wasn't too good, so
Yeah.
it really didn't have that much of a bar to overcome. But I thought it was a really good playoffs. Obviously, LeBron dominating the Raptors.
LeBronto for sure. Almost lost to the Pacers, though. That Pacers team is coming up as a team. Victor Oladipo, making his first All-Star appearance. Definitely going to win Most Improved Player. And now there are talks, I read yesterday on ESPN, there are talks that Paul George may go back to the Pacers. They have the money for it. Could you imagine him going back so they could acquire Victor Oladipo? Both of those All-Stars going together. What do you think about that team?
Well, I don't know if Paul George wants to be a journeyman like that, but
Yeah.
I think Pacers will always have that spot open for him. He'll probably retire as a Pacer, but I bet he heads out west. But anything can happen in the NBA. I really did like Brodzianski. That dude's a clutch shooter.
That's true.
And really did a fine job. I think he guarded LeBron most of the time.
Yeah.
But I really liked him. I liked Oladipo. I liked the Pacers. They really surprised me. But I was really surprised the Raptors winning 59 games this season.
Definitely.
And then coming out.
They just, in my opinion, they don't have the body size to compare to LeBron. He just played bully ball the whole time. Backing up, doing fadeaway shots, making and-ones, dunking on them, a clean sweep. You got to break up this Raptors team, in my opinion. You got to trade away Lowry or DeMar and see what you get. Something like that, because this team is built to win in the offseason, but not in the playoffs.
Another thing that really surprised me in the first round is I did my own NBA projections, and I had the Trailblazers over the Pelicans.
Yeah.
And one thing I really thought about is the Blazers' backcourt and how they probably have one of the best backcourts,
Definitely.
maybe in the West. But it turned out the Pelicans actually had a better backcourt with Drew Holiday and Rondo, and then C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard. So that's another thing that really surprised me, and I'm surprised that went 4 games, and Trailblazers really didn't put up a fight.
That's true, and even without DeMarcus Cousins, like if they had DeMarcus Cousins, I would have probably gave it to the Pelicans just because Nurkic isn't going to be able to dominate over DeMarcus Cousins or Anthony Davis. But when you have Rondo, Andrew Holiday stepping up, averaging, like, Holiday averaged over 20 points in that series, Rondo averaged over 10 assists in that series, and then Anthony Davis went off for 30 and 10. So when you put that together, Damian Lillard did not have a good series. McCollum had a decent series. I feel like the pressure of them doing so good, getting the third spot in the West, and them just playing bully ball with Rondo and Holiday, they just couldn't match up.
And then another team that really, really surprised me, the Utah Jazz.
Definitely,
and
yes.
Another surprising team, obviously, OKC being so awful. And just like last year, I didn't think Russell Westbrook had that great of playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, he shot, 43 times? Shot 43 times, got 46 points. His efficiency in that series was so bad. I thought Paul George had a really good series.
Except for the last game.
Except for the last game. But with Russell hogging all the shots, Paul George had to be more efficient with his shots, and he still put up good numbers.
I mean, and in my opinion, I watched Game 4 at OKC. I watched that whole game, and they were down by almost 30 points at the half. They come back in the third quarter, almost tying the game in the third quarter. Russell Westbrook did go off, but he wasn't efficient for the rest of the game. They still somehow won, and because Paul George decided to step up more. But when you only have one efficient quarter out of 3, and like you said, shooting 43 times for 46 points, I mean, you either have to break up that team or tell Russell Westbrook, hey, we know we know what you can do. We just paid you $207 million. How about we make it past the first round next year? Let's try to keep Paul George. Melo obviously is going to stay. He's probably going to waive his no trade clause, but especially Melo too. He was not efficient either. Paul George definitely the highlight of the OKC this year, in my opinion.
And you really got to think about, for OKC, how do you get rid of Carmelo?
Yeah.
And then the team's going to really dismantle, and I think Paul George will be gone. So that team will be back to last year's, whereas it was just Steven Adams and Russell Westbrook.
Definitely.
But
there are some rumors, though, that Enes Kanter is interested in signing back to OKC. But then again, I say you could throw him at the power forward spot maybe. But then, I mean, they're probably a fringe, not all-star, playoff team. But like you said, Utah Jazz, Donovan Mitchell, now in his first series, scored the second most points in a rookie in his first playoff series. So that's crazy to think about. In my opinion, definitely Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I think the way Ben Simmons played the playoff series, these 2 playoff series, I think the committee has got to give it to Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
And I know it's just not about the playoffs, but I think this Rookie of the Year race was almost a flip of the coin.
Yeah.
And this playoff series was kind of like the deal breaker of the Rookie of the Year. I think Donovan Mitchell should be the Rookie of the Year, and I think Utah has a chance to add some pieces with him and even become better, because, I mean, you're talking about him being probably all-star caliber, one of the top point guards in the West.
Definitely, and I was watching First Take yesterday, and Stephen A. Smith said the smartest thing on that broadcast, in my opinion, that he said in a while. He said Donovan Mitchell has the mentality of Russell Westbrook, but is actually a team player, not just plays for himself. And I agree with that to some extent, because I mean 10 assists a game. Obviously, you got to get your teammates involved, but like you said, the efficiency isn't there. But for Donovan Mitchell, it is. So Mitchell plays with a mentality that is hard to come by, and I definitely think this Utah Jazz team, like you said, if they find a good small forward to put in. Because obviously Joe Ingles, I mean, he had a good series, but probably not a starting caliber player. Find someone good there, because Ricky Rubio actually had a good year. Rudy Gobert, solid at the center position, and then you have Donovan Mitchell. Throw someone else in there, and I think they could grab the top a playoff seed again and probably make a run, at least at going to the conference finals. Yeah,
and you're talking about that Russell Westbrook mentality. I think that really did cost them again, because when Ricky Rubio showed up, Westbrook came. What game was it? I don't know which game it was. I
think it was game 2.
Game 2, and then game 3, Russell Westbrook wanted to shut him down and, throw shade on
Even though he did shut Ricky Rubio down, he couldn't shut the rest of the Utah Jazz team down, and his efficiency, like you said, was way down. And to jump to someone else that is surprising to me is that Celtics team. Taking Milwaukee to 7 games in the first round without the 2, all-stars. You can say Gordon Hayward's an all-star, technically. And Kyrie Irving, obviously, was an all-star. And them Scary Terry, Terry Rozier coming out, Jason Tatum coming out, Jaylen Brown having some good games. But in my opinion, the one guy that is keeping this whole train chugging, Al Horford. He's an old veteran that has had playoff experience, but hasn't made it past the conference finals. Now he's playing conference finals again against LeBron. You have to think, hey, you know what? This is my chance to make it to the finals. These young Bucks are playing good. I'm going to show him some stuff to do, and he's been having a great series. And Jason Tatum, I think he could go second in the Rookie of the Year voting, in my opinion.
Yeah, and one thing the Celtics, the most underappreciated person in the Celtics organization is Brad Stevens.
Yeah.
they really did disrespect him in the voting of Coach of the Year. He didn't get one vote.
I don't know how the only other person you could technically say, and you could say like Dwayne Casey maybe, and you could maybe say the Trailblazers coach, but if you look, or you could say the Brett Brown for the Sixers, but if you look at what Brad Stevens is doing, led them to the 2nd seed with no one basically but Kyrie Irving to help, and Al Horford, and then Kyrie Irving goes down, and you won the first series against a talented Milwaukee team, and you just went a gentleman's sweep 4-1 against the Sixers, and you don't get a single vote. That disrespect, in my opinion.
And one of the smartest things I heard Charles Barkley say last night about Brad Stevens, he was like, the guy is so good at rallying the troops.
Yeah.
And when you see him on the sideline, you can never tell if he's winning or losing because he's so calm.
Yeah.
He's such a great coach. Even with Butler, I mean, those Butler teams weren't really that good and still took them to the Final Four in the national championship and almost won that game on a last-second shot.
Yeah.
But anything surprise you about the Warriors or the Rockets? I mean, we knew they were going to get to these Western Conference Finals. But did anything surprise you?
The only thing that surprised me is Kawhi not showing up. I thought he for sure would at least, try to go play in the playoffs. Kawhi is surprising me because he always seemed to me like a nice guy, that you obviously want to build your team around. He is a 3-and-D guy, one of the best in the league, and is an all-star, and now he's just saying he's too injured to play. So obviously, you should probably trade him and look to find someone else. And then the Warriors, the only thing that surprised me is them losing or not losing to the Pelicans. Or they did lose to the Pelicans. I thought it was going to be a clean sweep. But congrats to both of them. I want the Rockets to win just because Draymond Green's running his mouth saying that the Rockets don't matter. They're not a good team. We're just going to play them. I mean, to a certain extent, it's good to have that mentality. It's just another team. You need to go out there and play in the same. But this Rockets team has proven something.
Yeah, I think the Rockets, in my opinion, are going to be the best team they face. Because if the Celtics beat the Cavs, I mean, that's going to be probably a clean sweep. Cavs win. Cavs, you're looking at them getting in a game or two. I just don't see the Cavs getting past the Warriors. But yeah, the Pelicans did blow them out in one game. We kind of did expect them to clean sweep. We also expected the Rockets to clean sweep the Utah, but Utah got a game.
Donovan Mitchell, again, showing what he's got. And KD, when Steph came back, I was like, they're probably going to sweep the Pelicans. That didn't happen. So shout out to AD to at least get past the first round and, to build on something. They need to sign DeMarcus Cousins if they're going to have a shot next year, in my opinion. They need to sign him to something. And the Rockets, I think, like you said, the most team that is probably going to beat the Warriors. In the season series, there was 3 games that beat them 2-1, so that's an advantage you already have. Plus, Chris Paul, great defensive player, can match up with Curry. Of course, James Harden and Klay Thompson match up good. And then you can throw... Now, the small forward spot's kind of iffy, but you have P.J. Tucker, Joe Johnson throw in there and play some good defense. And then you have just a bunch of role players, Eric Gordon, Gerald Green, then you have Clint Capella that's came out and balled out this year. Definitely going to overpower any center that the Warriors have because they don't have a very good center. But just overall, I feel like this series will go 7 games. And, of course, this is the first time in Steve Kerr's coaching venture with the Warriors that he has not had home court advantage in the conference finals. So that could play a big part.
And what do you think about the Celtics-Cavs matchup? How far do you think, and how big of a battle will that playoff series be?
I would like to say the Celtics will take them, but LeBron is just too good, and that team's too young. Congrats to them making the finals 2 years straight. You completely flipped your team. Then you have two people that you wanted to build your team around. If they had Gordon Hayward and Kyrie, I feel like they could take him 7 games. LeBron's still winning, but I feel like it's going to either go 4-1 or 4-2. I feel like the Celtics could grab at least 1 or 2 games, but Cavs definitely go in the finals this year.
In my opinion, Celtics got the greatest coach in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Cavs got the greatest player. But I think the guy that's actually playing the game, the greatest player, will prevail. And Cavs have already faced a team like the Pacers that really were the greatest challenge, I think, of theirs, and had the best talent of what they faced. And that's saying a lot. But I don't think the Celtics really have anyone that can guard LeBron and even put someone in front of him that's going to even slow him down. And he's going to be able to dish and shoot at will. And when he's able to do 2 of those things, he's literally unstoppable. And
I agree with you, because in the first matchup, I think another reason why it went 7 games is because all those young players, including Kevin Love and J.R. Smith, Kyle Korver, they just weren't performing. LeBron basically had to say, hey, I'm just going to win these games for us. So they do that. They show up in the second round. J.R. Smith going off for 20. Kevin Love going off for 20 and 10. Tristan Thompson even decided to show up, getting 15 and 10. Kyle Korver also contributing. And then in this round, they got to ride that and say, hey, we have time to get our young guys and the guys that have been here before, J.R. Smith, Kevin Love, that's been in the finals, conference finals, say, hey, let's go out there and play good like we've been doing. Also, Tristan Thompson doesn't want to go back home and see what kind of trouble he has, his personal issues, so he's playing his heart out trying to extend the time for him to go home. But I honestly feel like this Cavs team has grown through the playoffs. They didn't grow through the regular season, but they're growing through these playoffs, and I feel like you said, LeBron will be able to drive in, kick it out. J.R. Smith, Kevin Love, Kyle Korver, even Jordan Clarkson, George Hill can hit those threes. I feel like they're overmatched in weight and height, and so overall, I feel like it'll either go 4-1 or 4-2.
Yeah, and Brad Stevens is such a great game planner, X and O's guys, guys that can flip a script on his game plan, but one guy you can't really X and O's for is LeBron James.
Yeah.
So I really think he's the greatest coach in the playoffs, but when you get the greatest player out there that you can't really just scheme for, they're going to have a tough time. And Kevin Love has shown some flashes of maybe the Timberwolves Kevin Love.
Yeah, exactly.
And J.R. Smith has upped his game. It seems like he's gotten better like every game of the playoffs. Exactly. He's been shooting the ball really nice. And when LeBron's got shooters, I mean, that Cavs team's tough to beat.
Yeah.
And you just saw the Cavs pretty much just mantle the Raptors.
Yeah.
And it seemed like every single game, the Cavs put them out earlier and earlier in the game.
Yeah. The first game went overtime. Raptors led the whole time. Did not give up a lead. And then they end up losing. And right then I was like, it's over. The Raptors had their chance to at least get some momentum. But when you take a game at home, it kind of deflates your confidence. And especially when you go 0-2 at home, there's a chance that you're probably going to get swept. And they did. And I feel like LeBron is cementing his legacy because this is the worst team he's had in a long time. And he's just playing out of his mind right now. You don't know if he's going to go for a triple-double or put up 50 points. There's no in between. And so this Celtics team has to strategize for every single part of LeBron. The three-point shooting LeBron, the driving in and scoring LeBron, the dishing LeBron, the defensive beast LeBron, chase down blocks. So LeBron is just one of the best all-around players to ever play the game.
Yeah, 2 buzzer beaters with 0-0 on the clock. But just to wrap it up and make some final predictions at the end of this basketball show, who do you got for the finals and why?
Okay, I have the Rockets going to the finals. I feel like Chris Paul wants to make his first finals appearance. This is his first Western Conference Finals appearance too, so congrats to him. But he's going to play his heart out. Harden is going to feed off Chris Paul. So if Chris Paul's playing well, James Harden will play well. If James Harden will play well, the rest of the team is going to play well. So if they can grab at least one of these games at home and one of the games away, I feel like they can take this game to 7 series at home and win this game. Win that 7 series game. So I have them coming out of the West. Out of the East, like we already said, I feel like LeBron's just going to play bully ball. The Celtics may grab 1 or 2 games. It's going to go 4-2. And then the Rockets, it's probably going to be... It's going to be interesting because I've never really watched a game against LeBron and the Rockets. So let's just say, 4-2 Rockets. I just think the overall role players play so nice with the Rockets. And LeBron just, like you said, doesn't have the greatest supporting cast. But if they're on, you never know. So I'm going to say 4-2 Rockets.
I'm going to go with the same boring matchup of the Warriors and Cavs. Boring. Warriors don't get in technical issues. I think they just have the better team. And Steph Curry, he'll probably find his groove in this series. And they're just going to be too tough to beat. As much as I hate to say it, the Warriors are going to go to the finals again. Probably go 5-6 games. I'll go 5. And then Cavs, I think they'll go 5 games too. I think the Cavs are on the upswing.
Mm-hmm.
So those are our predictions for the NBA Finals as we're wrapping up the basketball show as it's getting late in the NBA season. I'm Logan Mantz alongside Matt Dick, and we're out of here.